Good morning and welcome to this morning's reflection. Without solitude, it is virtually impossible to live a spiritual life. Solitude begins with a time and a place for God alone. If we really believe that God not only exists, but also is actively present in our lives, healing, teaching, and guiding, then we need to set aside a time and a space to give God our undivided attention. Jesus says, "Go to your private room, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father who is in that secret place." To live a Christian life means to live in the world, to live in it without being of it. It is in solitude that this inner freedom can grow. Jesus went to a lonely place to pray. He went there to grow in the awareness that all the power that he had was given to him, that all the words he spoke came from his Father, and that all the works he did were not really his, but were the works of the one who had sent him. In the lonely place, Jesus was made free to fail. A life without a lonely place, that is, a life without a quiet center, easily becomes destructive. When we cling to the results of our actions as our only way of self-identification, then we become possessive and defensive. And we tend to look at our fellow human beings more as enemies to be kept off in the distance than as friends with whom we share the gifts of this life. In solitude, we can slowly unmask the illusion of our possessiveness and discover in the center of our own self that we are not what we can conquer, but we are what is given to us. In solitude, we can listen to the voice of the one who spoke to us before we could even speak a word, who healed us before we could make any gesture to help, who set us free long before we could free others, and who loved us long before we could give love to anyone. It is in this solitude that we discover that being is far more important than having, and that we are worth more than the results of our efforts. In solitude, we discover that our life is not a possession. It's not a possession to be defended, but rather it is a gift to be shared. It's there we recognize that the healing words we speak, they're not just our own, but that they are given to us. That the love that we can express is part of a far greater love. And that the new life we bring forth is not a property to cling to, but a gift to be received. There are three words that are important here: aloneness, loneliness, and solitude. You and I, and all people on this planet, are alone. Aloneness is a natural part of living. For no one else in the world is like you or like me. You are unique. No one else feels and experiences the world the way you do. the way I do. And in that, we are alone. Now, how do I deal with my aloneness? How do you deal with your aloneness? Many people deal with it through loneliness. That means you experience your aloneness as a wound, as something that hurts you and something that makes you miserable. It makes you cry out, "Is there anyone who can help me?" Loneliness is one of the greatest sources of suffering today. It is the disease of our time. But as Christians, we are called to convert our loneliness into solitude. We are called to experience our aloneness not as a wound, but as a gift, as God's gift, so that in our aloneness we discover how deeply we are loved by God. It is precisely where we are most alone, most unique, most ourselves, that God is closest to us. That is where we experience God as divine, as the divine, loving Father who knows us better than we could possibly know ourselves. Solitude is the way we grow into the realization that where we are most alone, we are most loved by God. It is a quality of heart, an inner quality that helps us to accept our aloneness lovingly as a gift from God. In that place, our activities become activities done for the other. If we accept our aloneness as a gift from God and convert it into deep solitude, then out of that solitude we can reach out and touch other people. We can come together in community because we don't cling to one another out of loneliness. We don't use or manipulate one another. Rather, we bow to one another's solitude. We recognize one another as people who are called by the same God. If I find God in my solitude, and you find God in your solitude, then the same God calls us together, and we can become friends. We can form a community. We can sustain a marriage. We can be together without destroying each other by clinging to each other. But the more we think about loneliness, the more we see that the wound of loneliness is like the Grand Canyon, a deep incision in the surface of our existence, which has become an inexhaustible source of beauty and self-understanding. So I would like to voice loudly and clearly what might seem unpopular and even disturbing. The Christian way of life does not take away your loneliness. It protects and cherishes it as a very precious gift. Sometimes it seems as if we do everything possible in life to avoid the painful confrontation with our basic human loneliness, and we allow ourselves to be trapped by false gods promising immediate satisfaction and quick relief. But perhaps the painful awareness of loneliness is an invitation to transcend our limitations and look beyond the boundaries of our existence. The awareness of loneliness might be a gift that we must protect and guard, because our loneliness reveals to us an inner emptiness that can be destructive when misunderstood, but filled with promise for the one who can tolerate it. It is sweet pain. May you be blessed today as you think on these things. Amen.